Hello everyone, and welcome to Math 1314 Mini Master for the winter. My name is Terry Barnes and I'll be helping you in this very quick journey through our course. I wanted to take this opportunity in the orientation video to show you what the course looks like, how it's set up, and what the expectations are. Please watch carefully because most of your questions will probably be answered in this video. So if you'll notice in the screen is divided into three parts for me. Over here are my announcements. In the middle is an Access Pearson widget. And over here is the content browser where I have things that are important for you. Across the top are also some tabs, but I think you'll pretty much use things down here more. So let's go through the information and talk about what's important here. So here's our syllabus. You should read through this. I'm only going to point out a couple of things, but you should read the whole thing. Here's my contact information, and that's my office number. And while I won't be on campus, if you wanted to leave me a voicemail, you could, and it will generate an email, and then I'll hear your voicemail. So that's that. You do not have to buy a hard copy of the text. An electronic one is included because you bought this as inclusive access. You do need a graphing calculator if you don't have one. There are some emulators that are great options, and I'll show you some of that in this video. So next in here that is important is the course outline. Now this just shows you an overview of the calendar. So everything starts December 16th, is due January 4th by 8 a.m. And you will cover all of this. And you'll note that there are 6 exams and then the final. So that's what's got to happen between now and the 4th. So that's in the syllabus, but we'll talk more about that as well. So course grading. Grading is divided into homework, tests, and final exam. The homework you can do over and over again until you get the score you want, which usually is you're aiming for 100, and that homework average will count 30% of your total average. Tests, there are 6 tests plus the final. Those are going to count 50% of your final average. Now in red, it says before each test is available, all homework must be completed with at least a 70 on each item. So if you don't have that, the test won't even open for you because it's set with that prereq. So be sure you do the homework and score passing grades on at least all of it before the test is open. Final exam is 20% of your final average. Now, test you get to take twice, and the higher grade counts in your average. Final exam you take once. So that's how the grading goes. I think those are the attendance. Let's talk about that. It's based on participation, and so I usually check it on Sundays for the previous week. We only have 3 weeks, so you should, and this is off. This says you're allowed 4 weeks of inactivity. Unfortunately, that's not quite right. So just be sure that you are working pretty regularly in the course. Otherwise, you could run into some attendance issues. But I will check it weekly on the Sundays that we have in the course. All right, so that is the instructor plan. Let's see what's next. There are some resources for you. There's my contact info. We've already talked about that. There's the calendar. It's just what was in the syllabus. The next part is the meat of the course. So all of this, problem set, lecture notes, videos, help you get ready for the homework. So let's look at these. If we go to problem sets, and this first item is 1.3, so let's go there. And this is a set of blank problems over the material. And if you go through this, this isn't for grading, this is for you to learn from, but if you go through this, you're going to be really ready for the homework. So a blank set of problems for every section. Now let's look at what's tied to that. Okay, the lecture notes. So if we go here, same thing, one and two lectures, and we'll go to 1.3. These are the notes that you would get on if you were in class. And so it's all the information, and then eventually it comes to that same set of problems, except it has the answers and some work instances of how you get to that. So I've done that. So now we have problem sets, and then we have some lecture notes with those worked things. Now let's look at the third component. Okay, so the third component is the lecture videos, and I have a YouTube channel for each course I teach. Here's from my college algebra. So here's the playlist for chapter 1 and 2. So this one right here is going to have the work, the problems, and the worked out stuff, and me talking through the work for the problems for section 1.3. So I have given you all 3 items for every section you will have to cover in the course. So chapters 1 through 6, you have a problem set, a lecture note item, and the video. So let's see what would happen next. All right, so say you've gone through the problems and the lecture notes and the videos for 1.3, and you are ready to do the homework. So you can do 2 things. You could go here and open in a new window, or you can just go here and hit Open Pearson. And when that happens, you won't have access to the instructor tools, but you would see this, My Lab, Math Lab, All Assignments. Let's grab that, and your homework and tests should come up. So as we can see here, there's everything that's going to be due in the course. All of them are due January 4th at 8 a.m. You see these little flags? That just reminds you, before you open Chapter 1 test, you've got to pass those sections. So it has those on each of the tests. Now, calculator test is here, and you have an infinite number of tries. Most of the others, well, all of the chapter tests you have 2 tries at, and final exam you have 1. So let's go look at 1.3. Now I already went in here to show something. So this is where I went in and looked at question 3, but let's talk about it. There were 12 questions in the problem set. Typically the homework is going to mirror that problem set really well. So let's go to question 3 again. And in this, here's your homework. Anytime you come back to your homework, you can redo a question that was missed. So this one says, write this in interval notation, which is something we cover in that section. If you click in the box, down here, some icons come up. You might need a fraction, you might need absolute value, infinity, ordered pair, and if you hit more, then a larger set comes up. Now when you get to chapter 6, you're going to need matrices, and these are right here. So just know that down here are a lot of icons. They don't show up until you're here. I wanted to show you what happens if I put some stuff here. We know that's not the right answer. I'm going to close that, and I don't have this quite high enough. There we go. Let me see if I can get here. Okay, you can barely see it. Check answer is at the bottom. So I check the answer and it says no, and it gives you some info. Then I check it a second time. Hopefully I've changed my answer, which I didn't do there. And then the last one says final check. And that's wrong. It tells me what the correct answer was and what I answered. And so I could learn from that. And then the option that is there is, let me get it up a little bit further. You can go to a similar question and just redo. So if I hit that, I just get a different one, and now I can get that problem right. So that's what happens, and you go through all the homework. You can hit save. I think it auto saves, but you could do that. And so that's how the homework goes. And that's what you would do. And you will always be ready for that if you've gone through the other things. Let's do one more thing with that. So I clicked on the grade book. The grade book's always going to show you your current average right here. You can see there are 30 homeworks, 1 quiz, that's the final exam, and 6 tests, so a total of 37 assignments. It's going to show you what you did on this assignment, when you worked on it. I'll see this as well. I can see all of this. But you'll always know what your current average is based on what you've done. So that's the grade book. You can go to the Brightspace assessments and look at the grade book there, but do count on the Pearson to be the most accurate, okay? All right, let's go over here, handouts. If you click on handouts and handouts for 1314, there are 2 things. The yellow packet has a wealth of information that I hand out to my in-class students. It might be well advised to have that when you take your tests. My students in class have that available to them for that. Also, if you use a TI Inspire, here's a document that I created with some of the special functions that you may not have learned to do if you use that kind of calculator. All right, so that's the handouts. In this TI-84 calculator, this is an emulator, and if you click on that and click here, that's going to put an emulator up on your screen, and you can use this. If you want to go to y equals and you wanted to graph x squared, you can do that, and you can hit graph. So you could use this emulator that's already available for you right here. It's a new one that we found, and I think it's going to work fine, but it's one of the options. There is also here some calculator help. If you click here, there are some other phone apps that you could have. There's a calculator exam review video for that exam that you have to take over the calculator. There's help videos, and there's some help worksheets. So all of that is just help for you, nothing you have to turn in. Last thing there is final exam review, and that will have some review work for you before you take the final exam. So hopefully things will go smoothly. If not, I am here to help you through this. So I hope this gets going for you, and I look forward to working with you.